welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a custom corpse doll. We're going to start with the base of a Jackson Jekyll Gloom Beach. I didn't really like how his hair looked, so I decided I was just going to give him a reroot. So first we start by giving him the most fabulous haircut, obviously. As you can see, it's so beautiful as I just get rid of all of his previous hair. It also was kind of sticky though, so I didn't really want to use that. Not to mention, I don't think I've ever seen a picture of corpse with blonde hair. Ooh, next, sweet torture. We put the head into a bath of hot water so that way he's easy for decapitation. Which, now he is. So, next we're going to take 100% acetone so that way we can make sure to get rid of his factory paint. Seeing as Jackson actually did not have black hair, he seemed to have a really dark brown. I wanted to make sure to get rid of that, seeing as I am going to give corpse black hair. Yay! His eyes come off now. So I tried to be really good at this because I've watched a lot of tutorials on how other people do doll customizing, but it took some time. This is only the second face I've ever removed. But I did sort of get the scooping technique and got half of his eye in one go, so I thought that was pretty good. Now, we gotta remove that last pesky eyebrow, and trying to get the eyebrow out of his eyebrow ring was kind of difficult because it's such a small area that it was fun. And just cleaning up general base. He had a huge hole in his head from when I removed his hair. It pulled out a big chunk of his skull. I'm using acrylic yarn and brushing it with a pet brush. Be careful if you do this because I did accidentally stab myself with the pet brush and they are very dangerous apparently, so just be careful. I'm using his head as a reference for how long I wanted his hair to be. I kind of went for like an emo look, I guess, because he has long fluffy black hair in the end. You know what, I dig it. It looks cute. He looked good. Then I just made a couple lines of hair, I guess you would call them. That sounds a little, lines of hair. Yeah, okay, we'll go with it. So we did some lines of hair and used a reroot tool that I bought from someone off Facebook. I believe it's the actual Doll Planet though, so woo, good stuff. Not sponsored, not affiliated, of course, because, you know, this is my first ever video. So I used that, and during the process of rerooting, I learned you don't actually need to buy expensive needles for this, considering like 95% of his hair that I rerooted, I just broke a dollar store needle and used it instead. And you can get a whole pack of those for $1, and there's like probably 20 needles in it, so I feel like that's a better price. 20 needles for not that much. $1 is a good price. So I'm still just rerooting his head. I had no rhyme or reason in how I did this, obviously, considering I go from one part of his head to another part of his head. I mostly was just going with how the hair came out, so if it was a longer piece, I would put it more towards like his part. I really tried to give him a really thick bit of hair around where the hole in his head was because I didn't want it to show through and I wanted it to be protected so his head doesn't just split down the middle. Don't use hot glue, it does not work very well. At least from my experience. It will not heal holes in heads. Yeah, there was the little Doll Planet thing right there. That's just because I kept breaking so many needles. And what I just did there was I was using another needle that was a good needle to actually just try to widen the holes because several of the holes in his head had seemed to have shrunk and were not really easy to plug into. So that wasn't fun. I would suggest if you're going to reroot a doll, try to go for like around their head first maybe and the part and then just fill it in gradually. Don't just go randomly. So this is one of my favorite parts. I actually custom made the base of his stand. Well, I bought the base from Amazon and then I painted it. As you can see, that's what's happening. So I drew the little thing based on a picture from Google. I didn't want to show me drawing it because it took way too many times to draw a tiny little Among Us character. And so then this was actually the second one I had made. The first one, we don't talk about it because it looked really bad. Among Us characters, when they're a little too long, are a little unnerving. A little too long. I think they thinned down paint that I buy because this took way too many coats of black to get opaque like I wanted it. I won't show you how many it took, but I'm serious, it just kept taking so many. And if you don't like how I paint, I'm sorry. This is how I do it. I usually paint so many thin layers so I can just right after the other, as soon as I'm done with one side, I like to be able to put it in the next area of paint so I can do like multiple layers in a span of a couple minutes. Probably not the right way, but I never took art class except like 2D art, but I was really bad at that. You know, when you're bad at 2D art, go for 3D art. That's what they say, right? In the art community? Probably. I don't know. There he is with a full head of hair. Look at that majestic, faceless man. So this is actually a really fun part because I got to wrap up his hair in a little washcloth to keep it safe. And I made him look like a little corpse babushka, so he was very, very cute. And he sat like this for quite a while because this took a long time. So I'm just stabbing some pins into his head to make sure the washcloth stays. We're doing this because obviously he's going to have a mask next. And I really, really, really did not want to get epoxy sculpt in his hair because I didn't think I could get it out. So we're just wrapping him up, keeping him safe, making sure the hair gets pushed back. I felt bad stabbing him in the head, and I will admit that I apologized way too many times to a doll. Next, I took some watercolor pencils, specifically in purple, and I tried to map out according to my little reference photo that you can't see, but you can see my phone. So I mapped out where I wanted his mask to end, basically, based on the reference photo, because I didn't really want to sculpt around that area. And I used it to draw his eye and his, facial features that you can see. Thank you, corpse, for having only one eye that is a good shape. Because trying to do multiple eyes is horrible. So yay for corpse's design. So I had to do his eyebrows multiple times because eyebrows are hard, apparently. They're just little lines, but you never realize how hard those little lines are until you've drawn them like 4 times and had to acetone off the face multiple times. Well, actually, since these were watercolor pencils, I just used, water. Sorry, I kept touching my phone. I forgot that you could stop phones from turning off after 30 seconds. And this was my little cheat. I wanted him to have a cute little glowing eye. So I just used this shiny purple and I mapped it out where I wanted it to be. I started with his fangs because when I made my previous corpse doll, my female corpse doll, that was how I did it with her, so I figured it would be the easiest to just start with the fangs and build around there. Well, I guess they're just teeth, but his fangs, shh, it's okay. We're fine. All is good. All is great. So to make his fangs, I basically just took really small pieces and just rolled them to a very small point and staggered them one up, one down, one up, one down, one up. And then I wanted it to be really, really thin because I hate bulky masks. So I was working on just really trying to, well, I'm fixing the flaws of his teeth at this point. Sorry about it being mostly off camera. I thought I was in frame, but I didn't realize I wasn't until after. But I thought you could still see at least somewhat of it, so it was good to show at least part of it. I really like my dollar store pink tool for, I think, scoring. I did try to use fancier tools, but it's what I'm used to, so I just kind of went with, good old hand molding and the dollar store, that thing. And to make sure I got it all nice and smooth, I kept occasionally just dipping the ends in water to smooth out his face. And as you can see, I'm making it really, really thin because, yeah, that kind of was a problem later, but you'll see why I say that. Yeah. Oh, for once he was in focus. Oh, and he wasn't. So his nose is pretty weird because if you look at a reference photo, it looks like he does have a nose, but he doesn't at the same time. So I just tried to make it look as iffy as possible, I guess. I tried to make it look like he did have a nose, but it was like he didn't have a skin nose, he had like just bone or cartilage built around his eye. And that looks kind of creepy. I did try to use a wire to make his ear, but it was so big, I just felt it was overpowering for his face, I guess I would say. So, smoothing out, constantly smoothing, that is like the most important thing of sculpting is smoothing. Then he has these like really defined cheekbones, I've noticed. So I really worked on trying to define those. I just made some little noodles of epoxy and I stuck them in about the rough shape of a cheekbone, and then used the tip of my tool to just kind of blend it into the base. And here I'm working on his ear. It took quite a bit to sit there and mold into shape. The best part, though, is to get it to dry, I had to hang him upside down on my desk so that way his ear wouldn't flop. I wanted it to stay perky. I finally figured out where the center was, I guess, and started painting him purple. This paint is so sad, I'd like to state. I swear, it took about 1,000,000 coats of purple to get the darkness that was advertised from this paint. Because at this moment, you can't really tell the difference between his eye purple and his face purple. It's just insane. How many layers? And I used a white acrylic for his eyes. And of course, he has a signature red eye too, so I gave him that. And we just worked on giving him like a crease for his eye. I figured it gave him more depth. And doing some detail work, adding a little bit more white, and then add some more red. My favorite part is when I bring in the black, but I guess I didn't do that yet. I had to repaint his purple to make it so it looked better. So dainty. Okay, why do I put my pinky up? Whatever. So, finally we're lining his black. I tried to give him accentuated, like, eyeliner because it is known that Corpse has done eyeliner on himself, so I wanted to tribute that in the doll. Now, sorry if it's bad, I can't even do eyeliner on myself, so trying to do it on a very small scale is very difficult. And he lost his eye because I messed it up. New eye time! That one was bad anyway, wasn't it? So we gave him more of a, yeah, okay. I used the watercolor to try to stain his teeth because I didn't like how white they were, I guess. If you look at any reference picture, he looks like he's like, since it's a creepy character, he has more of the like dingy, dark, scary teeth. So I was just really trying to accentuate that. And more purple. So much purple. Do 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 do. I went in and did the whites of his eyes. I like this shape better because I feel like it's just a sassier shape, and I guess I wanted my corpse to be a bit sassy. And he has a beautiful little eye now. Yay, eyes! I like this one better. It has more of a defined point, and I think I gave him better eyeliner, I guess. I tried to make it thick just for that reason. Little details. And then I gave a black outline to his purple eye because it gave it more depth from his mask. So that's why he's getting turned in all sorts of angles, as you can see. Here's the depth I wanted. Next, we made him some pants. So I didn't show sewing on this because I didn't know how to show my sewing machine. But what I did was I actually tried to make as few seams as possible. There's literally only a seam on his butt and on the inside of his legs, because I doubled over the size of his leg with a little extra, and then I just folded it in a way to make pants. Oh, back to his face. I kept it in this order because this is actually how I worked on him. I couldn't just stop, I guess. If one thing was in the middle of being done, I would work on another thing. And then we added some black to give depth. See what I mean about his nose? I wanted it to look like it was there, but not there, I guess. And just give some depth in his teeth and make them look creepier, because they were all kind of looking flat at that point. Added his defined cheek lines. And just lining it in black because it adds a little bit. Don't forget to add a shadow to his ear. And really just define those glorious cheekbones and his chin. I used a Little Dead Riding Wolf hood because I really, really, really wanted to make him a hoodie. Seeing as when he released merch, it was the most popular item, I believe, was the hoodie. And so I wanted to turn a tribute to that using what I had. I don't have any cool acid washed material, so it couldn't be exact, but I had this pretty cool bleached material, so I figured close enough. I also used a Heath Burns jacket to get the basic shape, seeing as a female jacket wouldn't have fit due to him being a manster instead of monster. Please don't follow my pattern. It's not right, but it somehow worked. For being the first ever hoodie I ever made, it somehow worked. Sleeves. Don't do it. Just don't do sleeves. They're very weird. I had to sit there and flip and flop on how to pin them to the actual jacket so I could turn them the right way. The amount of times he had a hoodie, didn't have a hoodie, had a hoodie, didn't have a hoodie. It's insane. So you got the two pieces. You always got to make sure to have a nice hem at the bottom because I didn't hem his pants. I liked the rugged look, but on his hoodie I wanted it to look more professional, like how his hoodies look. So yes, here's me struggling with figuring out how to pin this because I didn't make the shirt itself like rounded for the sleeves, but I made the sleeves rounded. And back to his face. Here we're just giving him a nice glossy varnish for his teeth and his eyes because I really wanted to shine. And Corpse is commonly known for painting his nails. I would assume black is one of the most popular ones. So I just worked on giving him a manicure. He gets little tiny delicate black fingernails. And that surprisingly was a lot harder than I thought it would be because Jackson does not have nail shapes. He has just fingers that are long. Not really any defined nail shape. And, of course, since it's Corpse, we're going to add a layer of glow-in-the-dark paint to several things. His nails glow, his eyes glow, and his teeth glow. I figured that was a good extent of glowing. So I did a lot of research for this, obviously, and I realized that Corpse has quite a few friends, obviously, but the main three that I noticed the most is Disguised Toast, Valkyrie, and Saikuno. So I tried to make sure to include little details for each of those friends so that way the little corpse doll had them always around as like little supports. In this case, I decided to just actually try to make a little toast. I think he turned out pretty cute. His hat will not actually be accurate to the bowler hat because, yeah, it's a lot harder to sculpt a bowler hat than I thought it was. So as you can see, I'm using a little reference, just trying to really make a hat, and I could not get it for the life of me. It ended up a little dorky, but still pretty cute. I had painted him two different colors, and I really didn't like it because one, he just looked like a regular piece of bread, and the other just buttery toast. So I mixed the two together and then added the little details. I had to stop and take a photo because it was like a little uwu mustache. It's cute. And I painted him. And then for the crust, I decided to just make it all black so it would fit more with the whole color scheme of how my corpse doll is very dark colored, I guess. Black hoodie, black pants. He does have different colored shoes, but we're not there yet. So I just gave him a good little painting around the edges. And now we're on to shoes. You always have to remember sand down plastic. Smooth plastic will not hold paint for anything. I decided I wanted to stick to the paints of his eyes. Well, not his eye. I used his face mask color and the red of his eye because I thought it would add a cute little effect. These are actually a pair of Deuce Gorgon shoes, if you've seen them before. They are pretty cute. I just wanted to make them more custom to him without modifying them too much. Again, it took like 1,000 coats of paint for each of these, so I didn't film the whole painting process, just part of it. Had to fill in each individual little checker, and that was fun. How small brushes can get is intriguing. So I used a little bit of white t-shirt material to make a ode to his song White Tea without making the full tee. I really didn't want to make the full t-shirt just because I thought that it would be useless since it's going to be covered anyway by his hoodie. Always make sure before gluing things down to use sample strips. I used a sample strip of the white t-shirt material and the pant material I used to make his pants, so it worked out well. And if you actually look at the little details of the seam, I did that to make sure that he had a little bit of Valkyrie with him. They're supposed to represent little V's for Valkyrie, so I thought it was just a cute little touch to add. Although my favorite part is obviously part of the hoodie. If you've seen me flicking around the hoodie occasionally, it's because the seam to finish the hood off is actually little green leaves that I did to represent Sykkuno. I wanted to make sure to put Sykkuno in the hood because I really felt like it was just a cute thought to have Sykkuno right there where Corpse could see him easily, or at least a little piece to remind him. Now getting dress time! So difficult sometimes, especially when Jackson's arms don't move very well. And then just shoving the arms back in. Yay, he has arms again! Well, one. I realized there was a little glue on his sleeve. I did get that off. Had to test to make sure he could still hold toast. I used a blow dryer because I really was afraid of dipping his face in hot water again, and I really, really did not want his face to crack because it is made of epoxy. Unfortunately, the more I jam, the more you can see. It did start cracking. At this point, I was determined. His head is going on. I will fix it in a moment. And I did! Then I tried to style his hair because he's always saying he has such curly hair and has shown a picture of it. So I really, really wanted him to have curly hair. But unfortunately, with how much hair I gave him, we left it straight. I like how he turned out in the end, and there's my little Sykkuno leaf details, as I said. His shoes and his little toast, his little Valkyrie, everything just. I love how it all came together in the end. Toast is pretty cool, and I did repaint that nail. And his shoes turned out pretty great, and I love his stand. I didn't paint the actual stem of the stand, I guess you would say, because I didn't really feel it was necessary. I didn't want the attention to be drawn away from the doll itself, just to the base. And then his eyes glow in the dark, as I said. Sorry, it's not a great picture. My camera does not like glow in the dark light. But that's it for today. Thank you.